rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Oh, my goodness. The SAVE Act debate rages on. The TSA and the rest of the DHS shutdown, yep, that rages on too. Because these people just cannot get their collective act together. And, well, the pressure is beginning to mount on the Democrats. In fact, there's even some suggestion of a potential mutiny. I got that and more tonight. Also, too, Iran caught lying. No surprise there, honestly. But they were caught lying about their capabilities in ballistic missiles, and I'll show you that here in just a moment. But first, let's go ahead and kick things off with the wonderful stylings in the Pledge of Allegiance. The wonderful stylings of, I'm trying to think, who is it that's up? Because I shifted that over and I said, hey, I got to remember this. I got to remember who this is. And I'm suffering from CRS. There we go. Kat Pekarik is up for tonight's pledge. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Kat as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This land is your land, America the beautiful. God bless America.
All right. And of course, I thank you, Kat, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, or whatever kind of file and attach it to an email. Address that email off to me. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. If you do it on your phone, you can use the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option, share option. And you'll be able to send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online as well. If the file is a little too big to email, then what you can do is you can utilize one of the free variations of online storage services like Google Drive, Dropbox, or Box. And you can send me the link from them, and I'll download it and get it going for you. I have 23 of these things now. I'd like to get 26 by the end of 2026. So if you haven't sent yours in yet, please do so. Like I said, I need 3 more to finish off my goal of getting 26 of these in 2026. So do it as soon as you can, please, and I'll get you into the rotation for that. All right. Tonight's headline sponsor is none other than, before I go to the headline sponsor and announce it, I need to show you, I am drinking the last of my bottle of Buffalo Trace. As you can see, there's not much in there. It's just a tiny little bit. I think there's like a final little sip in here. And let me pour that into the glass. Woo, Yeah, it's just a couple of drops, a couple extra drops. And we'll go ahead and put that in there. And it's in one of the pair of glasses that was sent by my wonderful Whiskey Warrior P1s. This is the American Perspective logo glass. Fantastic gift from my Whiskey Warrior P1s. And there are the requisite stones in the bottom because, of course, it takes stones to drink with whiskey. And so there we go, requisite first sip of the night. That's right. That's what I'm talking about right there. Whew. All right. Now let's get on to tonight's headline sponsor, which is none other than the Institute on the Constitution. Now, the Institute on the Constitution was formed back in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education from a biblical worldview. And they do this, of course, by helping to educate people. Well, they have a 3-step plan for you to help them in that mission. Step number 1 is, of course, pray. You should always pray for our country, and we kind of need it today more than ever. Step number 2 is to study. And they suggest that you study all 4 of their core courses, plus your own state constitutions course. We'll get to the free Constitution course here in just a second. And then your third option, or your third step, is to act, which of course not only is taking the classes, but also grabbing the Institute on the Constitution's instructor kit and starting to spread your knowledge, your newly acquired knowledge now, to your neighborhood, to your neighbors, to your people that you know in your community so that they can learn just like you have. And well, if you go to their theamericanview.com, that's the website, go to theamericanview.com, and when you go to the study portion, you can go and once you get into the study portion, oh, I got to back off so you guys can see it. There it is, right here. Sign up for their free, 100% free online course. It's 12 short lessons. Each one is about 15, 20 minutes long. 12 short lessons. It's 100% free. They email it right directly to you. So all you have to do to sign up is enter your first name, last name, and email address, and that will get you started on their courses. This is number 1 of the 4 core courses that they have. And then once you do that, you can go and check out their other courses and maybe even jump right in on a live course. They've got them all over the country. You can see it right here. They've got, they had one in Delaware. They've got them in South Dakota. Oh my goodness. The U.S. Constitution course in South Dakota is open for Wednesday, April 1st. There's a Truth in America's Founding, Your Heritage and Mine, back in Delaware on Saturday, April 11th. Yeah, you can go and check all of those out. They've got more. That's this one right here on the bottom. And then you can also check out the rest. They've got, the U.S. Constitution course in Kettering, Ohio. That one's on Thursday, April 16th. Take a in-person class as well. They got the Truth on America's Founding. That one's on May 9th in Ridgely, Maryland. They also have a U.S. Constitution course the Thursday following May 14th in Ridgely, Maryland. Yeah, go and check out all of their courses and join over 100,000 U.S. Constitution course graduates nationwide. And then once you've done that, go and become an instructor. Act on it and become an instructor. You can get the instructor kit. You can be a certified instructor, platinum instructor, chapter leader, or register for your particular class. Now, one thing that's interesting is you don't have to necessarily be an instructor in order to hold a class. In fact, if you watch this video right here that I'm flashing right now, if you watch that video right there, how to become an IOTC instructor, it'll explain the process to you. And here's your instructor kit. You can purchase that in the shop, which is up here in the upper right-hand corner. It's a red button. You can go and click on the shop, and you can go there and find all of their classes, course materials, other educational materials, apparel, and then my personal favorite, which is right above my head right here. Whoops, right above my head. Oh, yeah, right over here. That is the Legacy Library. Now, I like the Legacy Library because I kind of like leather. They have a lot of leather products there, but the Legacy Library has my personal favorite, the Leather Constitution book. That's right. It is the Leather Constitution book, and I happen to have one in my hot little hands right here. This is the Leather Constitution book, and just remember, each rounded cornered, that would be sexy rounded corners, rounded corner Saddleback, a leather-bound book purchased will cause a liberal to experience internal digestive discombobulation. And let's take a look at this thing. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. That is stitched all the way through the leather and the pages contained within. That is stitching that is provided by the Guild of Patriotic Stitchers. Membership is by invitation only. Send applications to Martha Washington. My Whiskey Warrior P1G says. Anyway, if you go and grab this little book, and I got to tell you, it's a great thing. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if you have a problem with this thing within that time frame, you can send it back to the manufacturer, and they will either fix it or replace it for free. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. My youngest Whiskey Warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you achieve your civics badge in Scouts. It will also help you achieve your civics exam, as well as help you with that naturalization test as well. Go and get yours today. That is the Institute on the Constitution. Going to theamericanview.com, go to their shop, click on Legacy Library, and pick this up. And pass them out to your friends, too. Also, don't forget to check out the rest of the Institute on the Constitution's offerings and their instructor kits. Become an instructor with them today and help them with their mission to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. Go to theamericanview.com. That's theamericanview.com today and look through the entire site. And I thank them for being a sponsor of this program. All righty. Well, I have some, sort of bad news. I mean, look, let's be honest. Regardless of whether they are a friend or a foe, we definitely appreciate when somebody does die to kind of say, my condolences. Unless, of course, you happen to be the victim of one of those people's malicious prosecutions. That's right. Former FBI director turned special counsel for the Russia 2016 election interference investigation, Robert Mueller, has passed at 81. Now, he had originally investigated whether or not the 2016 Trump campaign colluded with Russia. Rightfully, he came up with no. Because we now know that everything that he was looking at, all of the information and everything was fake, made up. Steele dossier was purchased for by the Clinton campaign. The FISA warrants were obtained illegally. Jack Smith was going to try and keep going after Donald Trump for who knows what. Robert Mueller was going after him for who knows what. It was all political. The whole thing was political. The only one that came out and actually said this, of course, was Durham. Was the Durham report, which was the truth about the whole thing. And so anyway, Trump wasn't very, he wasn't very complimentary. He just basically said on Truth Social, Robert Mueller just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people. That's it. I mean, I don't know. I guess you can't necessarily blame him for being that way. As I've pointed out on this program on multiple occasions, Donald Trump just sort of says what is on his mind. You don't have to like it, but he says what's on his mind. And yeah, that pretty much kind of sums it up. Anyway, so much for Robert Mueller. He will be wherever he's going to go and answer for whatever sins he may have everywhere. All right. Well, the war or conflict, I should say, the conflict in Iran continues. Iran confirmed that its Natanz nuclear facility was hit in an airstrike. They confirmed this today. The extent of the damage is, of course, unclear at this time. And Iran fired missiles at the U.S.-UK joint Diego Garcia base down in the Indian Ocean, according to the Associated Press. There haven't been any reports of any damage from the attack. Britain, of course, responded, calling the attack reckless. Oh. Yeah, I forgot something. Anyway, we'll come back to this. Hold on, I completely forgot. I got to go grab the book. Hang on. See, this is what happens when I get discombobulated with stuff going on. Anyway, let's see. Where are we? Today is the, 21st? Okay, so. And here we go, 21st. Ugh. Telling you, I do need an official producer. I really do. And the unofficial producers are doing a wonderful job, but I definitely need an official producer. I wish I could pay. Anyway, all right, let's go back. I'm going to shift back here, and let's go to On This Day in American History. And, of course, for On This Day in American History, we read from the American Patriots Almanac, written by William J. Bennett and John T.E. Cribb, chock full of all kinds of factoids about this wonderful country that we call home, and occasionally gets forgotten by your wonderful host, even though I've been doing this for almost 6 years. It'll be 6 years in the 1st of April, or the 2nd of April, I should say. 1st or 2nd, somewhere around in there. Anyway. All right, here we go. Today we're going to talk about Pocahontas. Much legend surrounds the life of Pocahontas, but the known facts are remarkable enough. Born around the year 1595 to Powhatan, a chief of a powerful tribe, she was about 12 years old when the English colonists founded Jamestown, Virginia. According to Captain John Smith, it was Pocahontas who saved him when the Indians took him prisoner. Just as the executioners were about to bash in his head, Smith wrote, Pocahontas got his head in her arms and laid her own upon him to save him from death. So wait a minute, I just realized something. You know the movie Pocahontas? Wait, she's 12 years old at the time? when they founded Jamestown. Yeah, I think Disney took a little bit of artistic liberty with that one because believe me, I don't know of any 12-year-old that would look like that. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Back to the book. Some scholars have suggested that what Smith took to be an execution was really a ceremony of some kind. At any rate, Powhatan set Smith free, and young Pocahontas became a frequent visitor to Jamestown, sometimes bringing food to the hungry settlers. Her friendly nature, by the way, her name apparently translates to playful one, made her a favorite among the colonists. A few years later, after Smith left for England, the settlers kidnapped the Indian maiden, intending to hold her until her father returned some prisoners and stolen supplies. During her captivity, Pocahontas converted to Christianity and was baptized as Rebecca. With her father's consent, she married colonist John Rolfe, and the couple had a boy named Thomas. The marriage helped bring peace between the Indians and the settlers. In 1616, the Rolfes sailed to England to help promote the Jamestown colony. There, the Indian princess was treated as a celebrity and welcomed at royal festivities, but she grew ill and died just before she was to return to Virginia. She was buried March 21st, 1617, in the town of Gravesend. Pocahontas' story has been told 100 ways in books, poems, plays, and movies. She was undoubtedly a courageous young woman who tried to bring friendship between two peoples. Captain Smith may have left the best tribute when he said she was, quote, the instrument to preserve this colony from death, famine, and utter confusion. And that is today's On This Day in American History. Yeah, she definitely was not depicted as being 12 years old in the Disney movie, for sure. Anyway. Okay. Sorry, I had to read what G had written in the chat about the binding on this day in American history, American Patriots Almanac. He's very creative, that G. Anyway, of course, he gets a lot of time, I guess, because he sits on the couch a lot. Anyway, let's go back to the international desk for the news with regards to Iran. Iran, of course, to kind of bring you back to speed, confirmed on Saturday its Natanz nuclear facility was hit in an airstrike. They fired some missiles toward the Diego Garcia base in the Indian Ocean. That's a shared base between the U.S. and the U.K. British response called the attack reckless. No reports of damage from that particular attack. Now, that's, yeah. Over on Facebook, David writes, here I came rolling into the chat late thinking that I had missed on this day in American history, but my luck was shined upon me your bad luck shined upon me, something like that. Anyway, my luck, you forgot. Yeah. So you got this here on this day in American history because the host is lost in his own mind. I'm not great in my own mind. I'm just lost in my own mind. Anyway, as I was saying, so Iran attempted to strike Diego Garcia, which is an Indian Ocean island base, and by itself critically enabling U.S. strikes. Now, they attempted to shoot a pair of ballistic missiles. Now, here's the thing, all right? And this honestly is the truth. It wasn't very long ago that the Iranian, what was it? the Iranian guy somewhere said on NBC, saying that their ability, their ballistic missile ability, yeah, it really isn't all that far. Well, here, take a look, because Trump took a hit or two in the State of the Union when he was talking about this. So take a listen to this.
They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America.
President Trump said one of the reasons for launching this war was that Iran, quote, already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases and would soon have missiles capable of reaching America. Was Iran planning to directly attack the United States?
Well, this is not true. This is, in fact, misinformation. We have capability to produce missiles, but we have intentionally limited ourselves to below 2,000 kilometers of range because we don't want to be felt as a threat by anybody else in the world. We have not started any plan to increase the range of our missiles more than what it is right now. So there is no evidence, there is no intelligence, nothing to indicate that Iran is going to long-range missiles, let alone those missiles who can reach the United States soul. Sorry.
Okay. So wait a minute. So this guy, first of all, Donald Trump said during the State of the Union, hey, they already have missiles that can reach Europe. This guy is now saying, oh, no. We don't have that capability. Trump is wrong. Trump is wrong. We don't have that capability at all. Except there's only one problem. You want to know how far the base is? The Diego Garcia base is from Iran? Well, take a look at this. If they only had 2,000 kilometer range on their ballistic missiles, they wouldn't have even gotten halfway to the Diego Garcia base in the Indian Ocean. This little red arrow right here on the bottom, that's the Diego Garcia base. And if you look, you can see up here, where they roughly say the missiles originated. Oh, what's that? Oh, 4,118.33 kilometers. Interesting. Folks, look, you cannot trust the Iranians. You cannot trust any of these terrorist regimes. You can't trust them at all to even come close, because here, let me show you, right down here in the middle of the ocean. This is where, oh, look at that, 2,000 kilometers would be. Yeah, no. And here, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Oh yeah, we don't have it. We don't have it at all. There's the island that they tried to strike. Well, we don't have that capability. We don't want to look like we can go anywhere, you know? We don't want to look like we can hit anybody. We don't want to be a threat to anybody. Yeah, sure you don't. There it is. It's like, really? Seriously? So once again, Donald Trump is proven correct. Yeah. They do have missiles that are beyond that. They can hit Europe and go way beyond just their neighbors. So, oh, yeah. They just nailed themselves. I mean, these guys, I'm just telling you, these guys are ridiculous. They're going to sit there and, oh, yeah, no. We don't have the capability to, go and, build nuclear weapons. We don't have that capability. We're not doing that. We're only doing it. We're only enriching uranium for public use. That's it. For public electricity use. That's all we're doing. And yet they came to the table and basically said, oh, yeah, we have about 400 kilograms of the stuff already. It's at 60%. We can enrich it even higher. You guys come in. We're going to enrich it, and we're going to use it. Yeah, sure. All right. Again, here we go. And by the way, this even kind of pulls up a little bit in terms of, what's his, Joe Kent's claims about them not being an imminent threat to us. They are an imminent threat. They have been. Really, if they can strike at a place that's double the distance, how far do you think those ballistic missiles might have? How far do you think those ballistic missiles might have been able to go? I mean, we only know what they targeted. We have no clue whether or not they could actually continue further than this. And the left and the leftists and the idiots on the left keep talking about how Iran didn't have anything to do with this. They didn't. Iran, I mean, they were not. They were adhering to the whole, the old Iran nuclear treaty or whatever. They were holding to that. They are doing just fine. There is no reason, really. There's no reason. And even remember, don't forget, Obama even pointed out, he's like, I really should have perhaps kept them from developing their ballistic missiles. That might have been a mistake. Yeah. Once again, folks, you can't trust these people. You cannot trust these people, period. They have the carte blanche ability to lie to us, including within their religion. In the Quran, it states that they can do pretty much just about anything to an infidel, and it really won't matter in their religion. So you're sitting here and you're trying to figure out who's the good guy here. I promise you, it is not the Iranians. Not at all. Not at all. So, sure. Sit there and bitch and moan and complain about it. So, yeah. So apparently, the missiles that were shot, well, they're not exactly the best in terms of targeting, because apparently, the missiles failed to find their targets. There was no damage or injuries. The actual attempted attack supposedly took place on Friday. Now, these intermediate range ballistic missiles were unlike cruise missiles, which reach their target by flying a relatively flat trajectory through the atmosphere and often hugging the ground to confound anti-missile defenses. Ballistic missiles fly up into the outer atmosphere or near space before plunging back to Earth. And this flight path makes them harder to intercept, and if destroyed while returning to Earth, can still spread wreckage, traveling at extremely high speeds onto and around the intended target. In other words, these ballistic missiles tend to do a arc to get to their target rather than flying like a plane to the target. So, yeah. Anyway, so the intermediate range is the second longest range after the Worldwide Strike intercontinental ballistic missile. And up to this point, it was not known whether or not Iran had intermediate range capabilities, raising the possibility that the nation's space program was hiding another weapons system or that other missiles may have had their true capabilities underplayed. And that actually is the truth. They had their true capabilities underplayed in this particular case. So, yeah. Now, the Iranian state media claimed that the strike, though making no mention of it having apparently failed, they were boasting of their long range of their weapons and the ability to threaten American targets outside of the region. So, yeah, the attempted attack on the strategic Indian Ocean base came on the same day Iran issued warnings to the United Kingdom, telling it to stop participating in U.S. aggression and to stop supporting the Zionist terrorist networks. Well, it's kind of interesting because the Brits just finally said, you know what? Yeah, we just got attacked now. So, yeah, you can use our bases now. You can use anything that we use in order to do these attacks. So, yeah, Iran's not making any friends here. They really aren't. They're kind of digging themselves in a hole. And, of course, for those of you that understand this analogy, what do you do when you find yourself in a hole? The first thing is to stop digging. Well, these guys are going to be continuing to dig. They're going to try and dig, and continue to dig for this. So, yeah. Now, that being said, Trump apparently has said that, well, you guys, meaning Britain, you guys are late to the party. And he pretty much says that the U.S. doesn't need any British aircraft carriers in the area. So, yeah, there you go. All right, we'll have to see. Every time something happens, it's like, well, America's not wrong. Where did anyone get the idea that what Trump is doing is incorrect? Now, there's a lot of people that are acting like this is an incorrect action. All of them are complete idiots. But, yeah. There you go. All right. Well, as I said in my opening statements, the Save America Act Senate debate continues. They had some Saturday sessions. I don't know if they're still going on, but they had Saturday sessions. And of course, the Save America Act is a pretty big issue. I also saw that the leftist lunatic Democrats are saying, oh, yeah, we tried to fund the TSA, but, those Republicans, they turned it down. Yeah, they were complaining on that. But anyway, the United States Senate resumed the debate today, which, is one of those things. Senate Majority Leader John Thune spoke on the bill in a brief presser, and he said, impartiality. Mr. President, I said at the beginning of this debate that I was going to be using the term common sense a lot, and that's because the Save America Act unites a bunch of common sense policies. The kinds of things that are just intuitively obvious. At least they should be. And they should be getting 80 to 90 votes or more here in the Senate. I've talked at length this week about common sense election policies, like showing a photo ID at the polls and demonstrating that you're an American citizen. In other words, eligible to vote when you register. So again, just saying it one more time. This is another example of the Democrats being on the wrong side of what is considered to be an 80-20 issue. Okay. And even so, even though 70% of Democrats, 89% of Republicans, and 83% of voters overall believe that we should be showing a photo ID in order to vote, yeah, they're not going anywhere. By the way, I ran across a story. I reposted it on Facebook, but it was an interesting story. The only reason why I'm not really reposting it or saying anything, it's kind of an anecdotal story, and I don't know how true it is, but it definitely demonstrates something with regards to elections. So the story goes like this. There's a man who goes and votes. He, does his vote. He gets his little "I voted" sticker. He puts it on his shirt saying, "Hey, I voted." Woohoo, I don't know why people do that, but whatever. Anyway, it's not applicable to the story necessarily. But anyway, he goes to the grocery store afterwards. And he's standing in line. Of course, the grocery store, it's like 2 or 3 people deep. But the person that is in front of him looks to be a young mother. She's got a toddler or 2. I don't know. She may be in her late 20s, let's say. And so the man's standing there, and just because he happens to be bored or whatever, she looks tired. She looks a little run down, probably due to the stresses of being a parent. That's the way it's described in the story. And so the man looks at her and says, "Hey, have you gotten a chance to vote today?" And the woman turns around, looking at him and with those tired eyes. And she goes, honestly, she goes, "I'm not going to." She says, "And the reason why I'm not going to is because of the fact that I don't have the time with work and my husband and the kids and all of the activities and things that we've got going on." She says, "I just haven't had time to brush up and really get a full accounting and full understanding of the issues and of the people that I would be voting for." And that, the guy thought about that, and he kind of thinks about it, and he's like, "You know what? That actually is a smart decision." Now, he doesn't tell her that necessarily, but he's thinking about it after the encounter, and he's like, "You know what? That woman actually was highly intelligent." Because if you think about things like the SAVE Act, for an example, you think about things like opening up all of our voting to just anybody. Think about this. How many people, and this is really something in terms of mail-in balloting and everything else, he was like, voting used to be one of the highest civic duties that we could do here in the United States. That, along with jury duty, are 2 of the highest civic duties that they not only entrust to citizens only, but in the past, it was only entrusted to people who had skin in the game. At one point, it was only landowners who could actually vote. And the laws have sort of changed since then, obviously, throughout time, to start including more people involved. And the more that we've gotten involved with it, the less the individual has been involved in politics. See, we've expanded our voting across the board. We've expanded it to just about everything. And in fact, there's many states and cities that have gotten to the point where, hey, even if you're an illegal alien, meaning that you're here as a criminal illegally, they're allowing you to vote. And here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing, is that voting by itself is not just something to be lightly taken into account. In a way, it's sort of like marriage. It is a solemn and supposed to be a very thoughtful process to just go and vote. And I found this out not too long ago, we'll call it 20 years. That was a long time ago. But anyway, I had, when elections were coming up, of course, I've almost always been interested in the issues, even though I haven't really been politically active until my later years. But I've always been interested in the issues and always been interested in politics as a whole and American history. And anyway, I did a poll at my workplace one time and I was walking around. I'm like, hey, the election's like 2 months off. What do you think about this initiative or this bill? Or what are your opinions or thoughts on this, whatever, this person, this individual? And the most common answer that I got back was, oh, well, I'll just wait until the voters pamphlet comes out and then I'll make my decision. Now, for those of you that don't know about the voters pamphlets here in Washington, because I was still in Washington at the time, the voters pamphlets here in Washington, they give you a short paragraph, something like 2,000 characters or something like that. I don't know. It's designed to try and make the paragraphs in the complaint, both for and against, or the arguments, both for and against, very short, succinct, and reportedly, hopefully, strong. But you're not carrying on about this thing. And so what ended up happening is I found, just from an anecdotal experience walking around and asking my coworkers, the vast majority of them didn't even care. They were like, yeah, voting, yeah, when it comes, And the part of the process that amazed me out of all of this is, of course, that the things that are going to affect them the most, which is what I was asking about. I was asking about things that were going to affect them directly, local issues, state issues. And they didn't even care. They were like, yeah, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time for this. And then you sit and wonder why we're in the situation that we're in with all of these literally idiots who have no idea, like Jamie Raskin, who has no idea that Thomas Jefferson and Thomas Paine were not undocumented immigrants because we didn't even have a country back then. What were they going to be documented in? See, it's that kind of intelligence factor, which really in his case isn't much, that a lot of people don't seem to understand. See, voting is a trust. It is supposed to be you by yourself in a voting booth, voting solemnly, just like going to the altar in marriage. It is not to be taken lightly. It is to be examined, thoughtful, reserved. It is to be respected. And to be honest, to have a response like that one young woman said, that shows that she is a highly intelligent individual, because she also made the comment as well. She's like, what happens if I vote just not considering anything, just not even thinking, just randomly picking a thing on the ballot? I'm going to negate somebody's vote who actually does know the issues and should be voting, should be providing their opinion on the subject. And I think this is what a lot of people don't seem to understand, is that voting is a civic duty. And to be completely honest, it used to take the place in a voting booth. It used to be a private matter. It used to be something that you would take very, very seriously, because not only would you have to transport yourself to the voting booth, but even now you would have to have an identification. You would have to take time out of your day to go and do this solemn civic duty as a United States citizen, to go vote. And that is now gone. Because in places like my home state here in Washington, we have all mail ballots. And so what happens is you get the ballots, you're getting them in your kitchen. You're sitting there and you're filling them out at the kitchen table. You may have a spouse, or if you're a child, an adult child, this is your first time voting, you're 18 years old, your first time voting. You've got an older parent who might be leaning over you and telling you how to vote. And that's not how it's supposed to go. How it's supposed to go is you yourself are supposed to be educated on the issues, educated enough to make an intelligent choice, to be educated on the individual that you want to represent you, not only at the local level, but also the state level and even the federal level, all the way up to the President of the United States. We've lost that. We've lost the solemn thought process that a citizen who has the right to vote needs to take that with seriousness. Needs to evaluate things, needs to evaluate all of the issues and the people on there, and vote your conscience. Being educated on whatever the topic is or whatever the person is. To vote your conscience. There was a study not long ago that basically stated that if you had name brand recognition, like Dan Bongino talks about right now, politics today is snapshots and sound bites. And if you're able to have a good snapshot or a good sound bite, people remember that. I don't know if that's a reflection necessarily on the state of politics or the state of the American psyche today. Because to be completely honest, I see a very disturbing level of lackadaisical attitude across all of the Americas. Nowadays, even in my own job, even in my own interactions with other people, when I start delving deep within a particular subject, I get this, will summarize it for me. Put it into a short snapshot, short soundbite, because I don't have time. I don't have the interest. And this is the problem with our American culture today. So you can go on TikTok and you can get a 30-second video. And that's more entertaining and more valuable to most people than a deep dive on something in terms of actually gaining incredible knowledge. See, people today, for whatever reason here in America, we're more interested in 30 seconds or less, 15 seconds. Whatever is going to get us the quickest answer without understanding all of the underlying information and the underlying conditions and things that go on within it. And that is the problem with today. That's why the Democrats happen to actually win, because if you start to dig into their arguments and start to dig into their hypocritical stances, if you start to dig into what it is that they are looking to do, an intelligent person knows that these people have nothing to stand on. And it's the exact same way with the SAVE Act. If you can't muster enough energy or desire to go and get an ID or to prove that you are an American citizen in order to do the most solemn activity outside of serving on a jury, the most American civic duty of going to vote, going to a polling place and voting, and maybe you don't respect it enough. And maybe you shouldn't actually be voting. maybe you should just pass. Food for thought. All right. Let me go ahead and grab let's take a quick break before I move on. All right, let's talk about, man, you know, my mouth waters every time I get to this Chicago Steak Company. Today's sponsor is Chicago Steak Company. Yeah, and they're giving away 4 free steaks on every order. All you have to do is enter the code BPSIR free. That's spelled phonetically: Bravo, Papa, Sierra, India, Romeo, Foxtrot, Romeo, Echo, Echo. BPSIR free. Now, let me ask you this, folks. Do you ever buy steaks at the grocery store and it's just a complete gamble? I mean, you're standing there staring at these shrink-wrapped mystery cuts, trying to figure out which one might actually be decent. And half of the time you get it home, you cook it, and, well, it's just fine. There's nothing special to it. Well, the Chicago Steak Company is the opposite of that. It has USDA prime and upper choice, hand-selected by butchers in Chicago, wet-aged 28 to 40 days, vacuum-sealed and shipped on dry ice right to your door. Every cut is hand-carved. There's absolutely no guessing on this meat. And here's the part that's really cool. Spend $199 or more on any steaks, your choice, using the code BPSIR free, and they'll throw in 4 bourbon peppercorn sirloins for free. Plus, you'll also get that free shipping. Now, these free steaks are 6-ounce top sirloins with a cracked peppercorn and bourbon rub. If you know me, you had me at bourbon. Lean, beefy, bold flavor. Throw them on a hot grill and they're done in minutes. That's $160 in free steaks. And hey, by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but barbecue season is not that far away. You might want to go and grab these. Or you might want to go and grab these and have them ready for that first cookout. Memorial Day being the unofficial start of summer. Anyway, the Chicago Steak Company has 15,000 5-star reviews. These guys are the real deal. Here's how you get that wonderful offer. Go to mychicagosteak.com/rumble. That's mychicagosteak, all one word, .com/rumble. And remember to use that code BPSIR FREE. That's BPSIR FREE to get that special $160 in free steaks that are the 6-ounce top sirloins with cracked peppercorn and a bourbon rub. You had me at bourbon, folks. mychicagosteak.com, mychicagosteak.com/rumble with the code BPSIR free. That's BPSIR free. Go today and order that $199 or more of any kind of steaks and get those $160 in free steaks. Right now by heading off to mychicagosteak.com/rumble and using that promo code BPSIR free. All right. Man, that makes my mouth water. I got to get a drink out of that. Woo! All right. Well, you know how the TSA has been working for 35 days without any money. They haven't been paid. They haven't been paid yet because the Democrats have decided to shut down the Department of Homeland Security. Now, keep in mind, their target, which is ICE, is still funded for quite some time. So they don't really have to worry about funding over at ICE, but the rest, whether it's the Coast Guard, whether it's the Department of Homeland Security, along with all of those other ones. Okay. I'm just saying. The Senate, of course, keeps talking about TSA, funding TSA. Well, guess what? I don't think the Senate Democrats, I don't think they wanted this to happen. Here in Red State, Elon Musk offers to do what Democrats won't for the TSA workers. So apparently, Elon posted on X, and he says, I would like to offer to pay the salaries of the TSA personnel during this funding impasse that is negatively affecting the lives of so many Americans at airports throughout the country. Wow. Okay, where's the rest of these freaking dumbass billionaires that are out there? That, you know, they keep wanting, the leftists keep wanting to tax them and take their money. Where are these other billionaires that are from California that are moving to Texas? Or, you know, people like Bill Gates and some of these others. Why aren't they stepping up to the plate to say, hey, we would like to offer to pay the salaries of these government workers during this incredibly stupid time for all of this? Yeah. They're not there. They're not doing it. It's the Democrats and their donors that are causing the problems that are making the TSA workers suffer right now. Where are they? Mark Cuban, Mr. Buffett, anybody? Hello? Elon Musk is saying he'll do it. Why not? Why not? So guess what? The one lone senator, Democrat senator, who has an actual brain and apparently had to have a stroke in order for it to show up. But he posted immediately after that, he quote tweeted and says, this is incredibly generous. TSA agents across the country are relying on food pantries and community donations just to get by. I remain the lone Democrat, to vote with my Republican colleagues to fully fund DHS and get people paid. It should never come to this point. Yeah. So guess the pressure is now going to be on the Democrats, or at least part of it. Well, there's another bit of pressure. Apparently, and I don't know where the hell Cornyn came up out of the blue with this one. I guess he's trying to prove to Donald Trump that he's actually MAGA, even though he's like stabbed Trump in the back, I don't know, dozens of times. But anyway, John Cornyn proposed a legislation on Thursday. He proposed legislation on the Senate floor on Thursday night to force the Democrat colleagues that were there to have to wait in line in the same long security lines that you do during this Department of Homeland Security shutdown. He voted, he put it out there. And by the way, as far as I know, everybody voted and it passed. So anyway, yeah. So here from the Hill says security screening lines have been especially long at Houston's Hobby Airport, where people have had to wait 3 to 4 hours to get through TSA lines. Wait times have increased dramatically at airports across the country, in large part because more TSA agents are missing work during the shutdown as they are not getting paid. Cornyn said on the Senate floor, blaming Democrats for this, staffing constraints have not only led to longer wait times around the country, but also significant delays, disruptions, and missed flights. The only reason I can fathom, other than being completely out of touch, which actually is where they're at, other than being completely out of touch, that our Democrat colleagues would do this is not all members of Congress are being forced to experience the same mess of their own making. This has been an argument for decades that Congress has their own health care plan. They don't have to be a part of Obamacare. Congress has their own benefits packages and all these other things that they've included. They still get checks. They still get paid when the government shuts down. And yet here they are. Yeah. See, this is part of the reason why there's sort of a meme running around, and even I kind of fell into it, but there's this meme running around saying the 28th Amendment should be that Congress shall make no law that they do not follow themselves. Which I honestly think that if that was part of the Constitution, guess what? I think all of this crap would go away. They would stop doing this bullshit. Pardon my French. But anyway, keep in mind, being a member of Congress does come with a few perks, but these should be minimal. There's an excellent argument to be made that these people shouldn't be sheltered from the results of their work. And in too many cases, they actually are. Now, keep in mind, the Constitution only actually shelters these people from legal ramifications when they're going to or from or on the Hill. That's it. That's the only benefit that these people get, other than they shall be paid for their time. That's it. He's sitting here and trying to say that these guys should get, they should always fly in first class seats. They should always, no, hell no. Get rid of all of that crap. And by the way, I guarantee you, just like all of the free benefits and freebies that all of the illegal aliens get by coming here, if we were to do that to Congress, I promise you, Congress would empty quickly. And the only people that would be there would be the ones that actually feel like they have a civic duty. Kind of like the people who volunteer for military service, as an example. Yeah, I like this. Well, now the bill passed in the Senate, so it moves on to the House of Representatives. And if those guys pass it, oh my gosh, it heads to the president's desk and becomes law. How do you like that? That is fantastic. Well, Trump even upped it one more. So Trump on Saturday goes, hey, if you guys don't pass that DHS funding and you stop this, I'm going to go ahead and station ICE agents in the airports across the nation as soon as Monday. Wow. So Trump called on the Democrats to end the stonewalling that has cut off the funding and paychecks for the TSA screeners. He said on Truth Social, quote, if the radical left Democrats don't immediately sign an agreement to let our country, in particular our airports, be free and safe again, I will move our brilliant and patriotic ICE agents to the airports where they will do security like no one has ever seen before. Yeah. Talk about ramping up the pressure on these Democrat idiot morons. Yeah. Well, the pressure might be getting too much. Right now, the guy who is in charge is old Chuckles the Clown Schumer. Chuckles the Clown, apparently, well, in the Wall Street Journal, there was a report that came out that Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer might be facing a level of internal revolt that has some members of his own caucus quietly counting heads to see if they can get rid of him. Right now, he's the minority leader in the Senate. Well, his political future, let's be honest, has been less than certain since he voted to keep the government open a year ago. His poll numbers are in the toilet. Rumors flew of AOC challenging him in a re-election when he's up in 2028. There's also been some reports that Democrats have been looking to oust Schumer from leadership. According to the latest report, the idiot, the moron, the complete and utter dense idiot, yeah, I know I had said it twice, from Connecticut, Chris Murphy, apparently sat down to dinner with some progressive activists at a French restaurant in Georgetown last month, during which Murphy told the group that some lawmakers had already done some informal vote counts to gauge whether or not there was enough support to remove Schumer from leadership. Murphy also added that Schumer did have the number of votes to survive for the moment. Yeah. Now, despite Murphy's attempts to downplay that particular situation, more than 46 interviews with Democratic senators, candidates, current and former aides, activists, and advisors all point to the same conclusion. There is concern about Schumer's leadership, and it's growing. It's getting worse. Apparently, routine meetings between Democratic chiefs of staff on Senate business that keep veering off script into conversations about Chuck Schumer and what can be done to pressure him to step aside after the midterm elections in November. There's also a money angle, apparently. Donors are getting frustrated with Schumer as he is already, and that's been hurting a super PAC aligned with the Democratic leader, donors and consultants said. The Senate Majority PAC was outraised by the Republican leadership aligned super PAC last year. The Democratic super PAC started 2026 with $36 million in the bank and $12.4 million in debt, while its GOP counterpart had, get this, $100 million and zero debt, according to Federal Elections Commission's filings. Yeah. Pressure is increasing. The pressure is increasing on these guys. I'm telling you right now. Ooh. Wow. Let me take a second. We could be seeing, hopefully, the end of this whole thing pretty soon. This stuff keeps up. All right. Well, here's an angle, because one of the things, obviously, that is up in SCOTUS and hotly debated, not only is elections, not only is immigration, but as a tangent off of immigration, is this wonderful thing known as birthright citizenship. And I think there's an angle that not too many people have considered. I mean, we've talked about it on this program. We've talked about the angle of all of the Chinese women that came over here that have been discovered as coming over here, birthing their babies here in the United States to create United States citizens and then taking them back to China to go ahead and train them in the Chinese fashion. They would basically be homegrown spies because these children would have access to America as an American citizen with the current definition of birthright citizenship. Well, that was a report that popped and said, hey, within the next decade, we're all of a sudden going to have a whole bunch of potential Chinese spies coming back here who are continual spies for the Chinese government that are American citizens. Yeah, that would be a bit of a problem. But we already have a perfect example of this challenge here, right here in front of us. That's right. According to Just the News, there was a California-born California-born U.S. citizen whose mother, by the way, is a Mexican national. And now this citizen is reportedly part of the drug and money laundering cartel and has taken the helm of one of Mexico's most dangerous cartels. Now think about this. Now think about this right here. This man, and these are multiple reports, but this man this guy, he's a 41-year-old. He's a dual American and Mexican citizen. He reportedly has taken charge of the notorious Jalisco New Generation, the CJNG cartel, in the aftermath of the Mexican Special Forces raid that took out that cartel's former boss, El Mencho, last month. The raid was the most direct action that the Mexican authorities have taken against the cartels in coordination with the United States. But now this guy, the American now has the ability to obviously claim that he's a citizen and come back and forth between Mexico and America with his citizenship. So, And this guy, by the way, is the stepson of El Mencho, because the El Mencho, his biological son, is actually in an American prison for life. The cartel has decided to put this guy who has dual citizenship in charge. His citizenship, by the way, is likely going to complicate the U.S. government's efforts to gather intelligence. Now think about this. The FISA warrants, as an example. Here's something that a lot of people didn't think about. This guy who has ties to Mexico, obviously has ties to the Mexican cartel, was dropped here as an anchor baby, gained U.S. citizenship because of that action, is now in charge of that cartel. He comes here to the United States, guess what? They can't listen in on his phone calls because he is an American citizen. See, this is part of the reason why I keep telling you the Constitution and its protections, all of them, only apply to U.S. citizens. See, a U.S. citizen is the one who is supposed to have confidence in being insecure of his papers and his person. The FISA warrant process allows us to spy on foreign nationals, and that if an American citizen is a part of those communications, you are not to unmask them when it comes to listening. You are supposed to keep their identity secret. How are you going to do that if you have a known cartel member who is an American citizen and is afforded all of the protections of the Constitution by mere birth, even though he is a known criminal member of a gang? Whereas if he did not have that American citizenship, he would be coming across the border, potentially. He would be a foreign national, and therefore they could spy on him all they want. See, this is part of the problem that the leftist lunatic Democrats don't seem to get. They don't understand this. They don't understand this. This is an example of why we need to tighten that hole, because our adversaries are exploiting this whole idea of birthright citizenship for their benefit, to the detriment of America. Yeah. This is a serious problem here, people. very serious problem. These people need to, we need to understand that in order for us to tighten ourselves up and protect ourselves, we need to get back to the original ideas and ideals of the Constitution, who it applies to. And we need to get much quicker at responding to these leftist lunatics who try to usurp our Constitution more. We need to do this. This is ridiculous. And yet here, this is a perfect example of why this whole idea of birthright citizenship is not what they think it is, and it shouldn't be. And SCOTUS hopefully will rule on that. Soon enough, and rule in favor of the historical definition of birthright citizenship. All right. Well, I don't know if anybody recalls, and this last couple of things is basically the left-wing media, the mainstream media, the idiots in the media. I know it's all synonymous, but anyway, all of those people, getting it wrong because they got to be first, not necessarily right. So I don't know if anybody remembers. I know I talked about it on this program. There was a woman in Georgia who, after their pro-life act, I think it's called the Life Act, actually, she ended up taking mifepristone, which is an abortion pill, to have an abortion. She took the mifepristone, and her body, of course, didn't expel everything, all the tissues. She ended up getting sepsis. She was taken to the hospital, and the doctors were attempting to perform a D&C, which, by the way, a D&C is not an abortion, unlike what the left wants you to believe. A D&C is not an abortion. A D&C, the procedure itself, is basically cleaning out any leftover fetal tissue after the baby is already dead. Well, unfortunately, this woman died on the operating table as the doctors were attempting to finish off and perform that D&C. Now, the left-wing media, of course, immediately assigned it to the fact that, hey, if the Life Act in Georgia hadn't taken place, she would still be alive, even though technically she was doing what essentially was legal and was an abortion methodology, even if the Life Act hadn't been in play. But I digress. Now, several of these types of abortion lies have been detailed in a left-wing outlet, ProPublica report, which gives the false account of the story of that woman. It lies right out of the gate when it says that Georgia had made the procedure a felony, which it wasn't, and that any doctor who violated the new Georgia law could be prosecuted and could face up to a decade in prison. Both of those statements are completely false. Completely false. But now the left-wing media has found another case that they are going to attempt, if you guys hear about this, going to attempt to assign to these abortion laws that are being passed. In this particular one, the same Georgia pro-life law. So apparently a 31-year-old woman is now facing a murder charge after the authorities say that she took, and this is where the lie comes in, that she took abortion pills late in her pregnancy. Now, this is how the WSB radio station is reporting the story. So, according to the police, the woman went to an emergency room with severe pain after allegedly taking the quote-unquote abortion pills at home. Medical records show that the newborn was delivered at approximately 22 to 24 weeks and showed that the cardiac activity was there before later dying. Investigators charged the woman with felony murder, alleging that the pregnancy was well beyond the 6 weeks in the law. And authorities say that this is believed to be the first case of its kind since Georgia implemented its strict abortion ban, except, folks, there's only one problem. The pills that the woman took were not abortion pills. Apparently, when reality came through, the woman, who was an inmate, faces charges of murder along with possession of a dangerous drug and possession of a Schedule II controlled substance because those pills that she took were oxycodone and that she had obtained them illegally. And while she wasn't planning on aborting the baby was delivered just fine, with the exception of the fact that the oxycodone had already hit the system and unfortunately killed the baby. So, folks, you cannot trust these people. You cannot trust the mainstream media, or I should say the lamestream media, for their reporting until you. This is why the 72-hour rule comes into play. Now, in another story, in this one, everybody has been piling on to Erica Kirk ever since Charlie Kirk was shot and killed. There have been a lot of people like Candace Owens and a few others who have been going after her. Many on the left have been going after her unjustly. In fact, many of the conspiracy theories that are out there have to deal with Erica Kirk being the one who murdered her husband, that she is grieving in an incorrect way and therefore never loved Charlie, that she herself is a liar, that she's a child grooming pedo, that she recruited little girls for Jeffrey Epstein, that she currently traffics children, that she's having an affair with J.D. Vance, she's a phony, she's a fraud, she's faking her emotions, and that the only thing she cares about is money. Well, apparently, she had another violation of her privacy here, which came from the clothing brand Alo, A-L-O, which apparently leaked her personal data to some TikTok influencers. Those TikTok influencers went ahead and posted a bill that apparently she spent over $1,000 the day after her husband was assassinated. Now, the TikTok creator who displayed the receipt online mocked her over the timing of the shopping spree. Well, here's the truth. The leaked receipt was true. The receipt was true. But the reason for it is because Erica Kirk and her assistant had immediately jumped on a plane. One of her staffers, Elizabeth McCoy, she went on social media and explained what happened, that she was the one that had actually purchased the clothes because of the fact that Erica went immediately from a place, wherever she was, jumped on a plane to head out to Utah to go be with her husband after he died, and did not bother to pack any clothes. And that they had been there for 24 hours without showering in the same clothes that they were in. And so therefore the thought process was to go. She was given a credit card and she went and bought the clothes so that Erica and herself could go and change into some clothes, change into some new clean clothes. And she says that, well, she also picked up some items and some other toiletries for various team members as well. She went into Alo because it was right down the street. And she says to accuse Erica or anyone else of entertaining a shopping spree hours after her husband was brutally murdered is cruel and vicious. And it is a planned, manufactured attack. This is why, people, you have to wait. You have to wade through the bull crap in order to get to the truth. And if more people did that, the less trouble this country would actually be in. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up, thumbs downs, or in the case of 3 Chevy, a thumb sideways across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you Monday night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great rest of your weekend, and good night, everybody.